that's my Instagram profile. You're not seeing a lot of credibility taking place. So let's take the Adler technique that I just talked about, all of these questions that I just talked about, and let's apply them to my profile. So I took those same questions from the slide before, and I answered them in the red text here. So who am I? I'm a social media expert who primarily works with realtors to drive growth through content. What do I want? I honestly want more followers, more credibility, and I want leads from social media. I want people to come to my Instagram account to see that I am very good on social media, to trust me, to trust the education that I'm sharing, and to want to work with me from looking at that. So your goals, the what can you want, the objective in posting consistently to your profile can be as broad as that, or it can be as niche as, you know what, by the end of the quarter, I need a new client. I need to close one client off of posting organically to social media with 0 ad spend. Why do I want it? As a social media expert, I need to prove that I can do the work, even on my own profile. They can look at my portfolio, they can look at my clients' work, but if I'm not proving that I too can put myself out there when I'm coaching other people to put themselves out there, I'm losing credibility by not sharing that. And how do I get it? Well, here's my thought. I'll be sharing my own journey. I'll be sharing educational content. I'll be giving away freebies. I'll be leading people off of social media, and I'll be collecting their information so that I can remarket to them either via email marketing or on my other social media platforms like TikTok. And I'll be sharing educational content so that they know that they can always rely on my content as a trustworthy place to keep coming back to, even if they're not working with me right now. Because even if they're not looking for someone to work on their social media now, maybe they will be in the future. So this is my professional account. Now, there's a couple differences here. And I always get this question when I give this presentation, and it's, do I need to have both, like 2 separate accounts on Instagram? And the answer is no. That was just my decision because the one that I showed you before is actually a private account and it doesn't have that many followers anymore. And it's just kind of for like family and friends and people that I know in real life. But this pro account is for everyone to follow. So it is a professional Instagram account. So if you are posting on Instagram as your primary account, I do recommend that you switch to a business or creator account. And which one that's going to be is kind of depends on your own business model. So for example, if you are a store like Shop Love Days, you should probably be a business account because it's likely that other people may be accessing that account and there's multiple people behind that account. But if you are Ann on social and you're Ann on Instagram, you can be a creator account. Because that's one person, it's unlikely that other people are going to be accessing that account, and it's pretty clear who that professional is just from looking at it. But for example, a big company like Bedford, for example, is a business account, not a creator account. So a business is for a business, and a creator is for an individual. But on a professional Instagram account, whether you choose the creator or the business, your name, your title, your bio, all of this should be SEO and AEO optimized, consistent visually and consistent verbally for your branding. So for example, if you look very closely on mine, you can see that I have a couple fields here that are optimized. So the first is that my category is listed as digital creator. So you have a couple options within Instagram. I just chose the one that was most similar to me. And digital creator is a keyword that I want my profile associated with because I want to work with other digital creators. I've also put NYC as my location. You don't have to put your location. I just think that living in New York as a content creator gives me some level of credibility. You can add creator. I added creator coach. I added that I'm leading social media content at Learn Bedford. So I've added that in my bio so that you can go and directly see the work that I'm doing. I have a funny joke there, which is always on that dang phone, but phone is also a keyword that I would like associated with me. I would like to be associated with being chronically online, with being on social media all the time. And then, of course, I have a little call to action, which is waitlist and free stuff so that people are inclined to click the link in my bio. Now, you can't see this since this is a presentation, but if you look closely, there's multiple links in my bio. When you switch to a business or creator account on Instagram, you now do have the ability to add multiple links to your bio, which is really great if you have multiple places that you want to lead people, especially if one of those is a lead capture form. So if you're also doing email marketing or you have a newsletter or you have a Substack and you want people to sign up to it there, I definitely recommend that you add that to one of the links in your bio. So this account, like I said, is built intentionally. If you look really closely over here as well, let's see if I can zoom in. No? Okay. Wait, maybe? Okay, maybe not. If you look really closely, I do have 2 pinned posts, which I also usually recommend. So one of them is a sign up to my newsletter where you can read a little bit about that. And the other one is actually a discount to the Bedford program. But I usually do recommend that people have a pinned post that tells you who you are, what you do, a little bit about your background, because adding that context in your posts and in your Instagram reels is actually going to help you lose a little bit of credibility, because it looks like you're introducing yourself over and over and over when you shouldn't have to be. So we'll get to that when we talk about your first post. But you're probably asking yourself, where do we start? So I would like to share one of my favorite tweets of all time. This is Brian Chesky, the founder of Airbnb. He said, if you launch and no one notices, launch again. We launched 3 times. So after today, you guys can launch as much as you want. I'm relaunching on Instagram all the time. Like, I decided last week that there was going to be a newsletter. I used to write a newsletter. I decided last week I'm going to write a new newsletter. Why? Because I'm speaking it into existence right now. I'm launching it, you know? You can launch as many times as you want. Airbnb launched 3 times. And imagine if they had given up at that second launch. So I am going to talk about your first post and the first post formula. So even if you've posted before, think about your next post as your first post. And then in a couple weeks, if you don't like any of those posts, think about a new post again. You know, you can post as many times as you want. You can launch as many times as you want. You know, a lot of people usually ask me like, oh, but like my branding and it has to fit this and it has to fit this. And I find that if you get too stuck in your ways, you're not going to want to try new things on social media. And there is a little bit of an aspect here of like throw the spaghetti at the wall and see if it sticks, to see if you're done cooking the spaghetti yet, that I think is like healthy to restart every so often, because social media changes, trends change, the algorithm changes, and none of that is an excuse to stop posting, and none of that is an excuse to not try something new every so often. So even if you've posted before, think about Airbnb. Your next post is your first post, because we've decided it is so. So the first post formula, this is the way. I've now talked about Harry Potter. I've now talked about Star Wars. Maybe we'll get to another major trilogy or major series, but who knows? So no matter where you're posting, whether it's Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, remember these things. No intro, no context. You don't need to put that on every post. That should be in a pinned post on your profile. That should be in your bio. That should be in your about section. That should be obvious. The thing is that you are going to want to grab people. Attention spans right now are very short. You're going to want to grab people in less than 2 seconds. So you'll want to start all of your content with a hook. So even if that is a carousel post where you've got big text on the screen, or an interesting picture, or it's a visual hook where, like I said earlier, you're talking really close to the camera, or, you know, it could be a verbal hook where you're saying like, you know, this is a bad example, but like the top 3 craziest things that have ever happened to me while working with a client. All of those things are hooks that get people interested and want them to stay either on your video or scroll to the end of your carousel. But every time that you give intro or you give context, that takes away from that. If I started every single Instagram reel with, hey guys, I'm Ann Singer, I am a social media expert, and I want to share with you something really interesting today, people will scroll past that immediately. They'll say, oh my gosh, it's Ann Singer again, keep scrolling. That being said, every so often you can slide in a little line about yourself. So if I started with a hook that was like, top 10 craziest moments of my career in social media, starting with the time that we put 1,000 balloons in Berlin City Center. That's a pretty cool hook. And then after I start telling that story, I might slide in, by the way, if you're new here, I'm Ann and I talk about social media online. So one quick line of who you are and why you're talking about it is totally fine. But intro, context on every single post is way too much information. People will go to your page for more information if you come up in the Discover feed on Instagram, or if you come up on the For You page on TikTok and they're curious about you and your post is interesting, they will go to your profile to learn more, but they will not go to your profile if your post is not interesting. That being said, no promo, no sales. You can smell that from 3 posts away. You can see it coming, you can sense it, and it feels like an ad. So you have to be really particular, especially when you first start posting or when you first start posting again, about creating the trust in your online community. So it's really important that you're authentic, that you're sharing education, that you're sharing who you are, but you're not being overly salesy. So for example, if I were to start posting today, right now, first post formula, day one posting again, day one Airbnb relaunch as myself, I probably would not want to start my first post with, guys, download my brand new guide. I just put it in my bio. It's going to save your life when it comes to social media. Because you don't know me yet. You don't trust me yet. You don't know who I am or what I'm talking about. Instead, I might want to start with how there's brand new information on social media. Like, for example, I want to be the one breaking the news today that on Instagram, you can officially go back to old posts and change the music on them. I want to talk about why that's important, why it's a strategy, why it's something you can incorporate into your strategy, and how you can utilize it right now. So without sharing, who I am or why you should work with me or, trying to sell you on working with me, diving into that value that only I can provide. So showing why I'm unique. So another bad example is, hi, I'm Anna, I've worked in social media for a decade and here's something I'd like to share. But a good example might be, Love Island is a genius marketing system because of X, Y, and Z. Because I pull you in with a hook, something that's a little bit interesting there, like Love Island is a genius marketing ecosystem. And then I'm going to share with you the value that only I can share, which is my opinion on why Love Island is a genius marketing ecosystem. And then I'm going to show you that I'm a social media expert with the information that I give you in that post. Now, after you do that a few times, I would say maybe every 5 posts, you can add a call to action on there that's like, if you want to learn more about this, comment guide for guide, Only after you've started creating that trust and growing your audience and having conversations online would I start the promo and the sales. All right. So this is the content formula. Consistency, specificity, and point of view. So the first thing is to pick one thing to do and to do it well. So you want to show your audience the pattern that you're going to keep. So for example, that could be one carousel template on Instagram that you reuse over and over in different colors with the same font and the same branding on it. Or that could be a newsletter or a blog format that you reuse all the time. So for example, if any of you are signed up to our very own Ben Newton Substack, he does something like this where he gives like one big idea and then he narrows it down to one person and talks a little bit about those two things in every single format, because you know what you're getting every time and you look forward to what you're going to get the next time that you read his Substack. It could also be a specific style of video editing. So maybe in every single video, I start with my face really, really close to the camera and I talk to the camera really closely or something like that. One example I love to give of this, and his name is slipping my mind, but there's this 20-year-old realtor in Baltimore, Maryland, who does speed run-throughs of all of his listings. So he runs through all of these homes that he's selling and talks as fast as he can about the listing. And he's gone mega viral because of that. And now, after he shared that format over and over and over, he's also started introducing different formats. But to grow your audience and to create that trust and that consistency, it might just be easiest to start with one thing, one format, do it well, do it consistently. Another aspect of this formula is specificity. So don't be afraid to get specific and share your own expertise. I find that many people, when they start posting online, are afraid to give away their value and afraid to ask for nothing in return because they feel like they're giving away for free that thing that they should be selling. But no one's going to know how much you can share and how much you can give away and how much value you truly have until you give them a little bit of a taste of it. You know what I mean? So you don't have to give them like the full meal, but definitely an appetizer is a good place to start for social media. And of course, point of view. So anytime an audience member is looking at your content, they should be able to walk away from that and say, this is what Anne thinks, this is what Anne believes, and this is what Anne teaches. Because that point of view, that specific point of view, combined with the consistency of posting and the specificity of what you're sharing, is going to be the thing that keeps people coming back. I mean, especially now on social media and an age where there's so many like AI created videos and people using ChatGPT for the same script over and over and over. What people are looking for is you being able to go online and share, this is my opinion, this is why I think it is so, and this is why it is something that will benefit you. So having that unique point of view and being able to come back to it is something that really can build such a strong community online. The goal for me, for example, is that I want to have such specific point of views on social media that when Adam Mosseri, the CEO of Instagram, shares a new release, a new update to Instagram, I want my followers to think, ooh, I wonder what Anne has to think about this. Like, I wonder what Anne's going to say. And that should be the goal. The goal is to bring people back to you to see what your expertise is.